Today on Locked On Phoenix Suns, Luka Doncic is way too small. The Phoenix Suns are way too good, and the Suns bounce back. We'll break down the W next.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Suns. I'm Brendon, Kleen, a staff writer at Awful Announcing and a credentialed Suns media member. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen late on a Saturday, early on a Sunday. Don't forget Locked On Suns, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button, celebrate the win, and do what thousands of other Suns fans have already done. Become an everydayer and get locked onto the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Today's episode, guys, brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook. Start the season with a big return on FanDuel by placing a first $5 bet to get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Joining me, as always, the executive producer of The Drive on Fox Sports 910 from the wonderful West Valley. How are we feeling on this late Saturday, winning Saturday, Ben Garcia?
I'm good. I actually didn't catch the game. I was too busy staring at DeAndre Ayton statistics because that's what Suns Twitter is telling me. I'm just assuming Yousef Nurkic wasn't good again, tonight, and that we just wish we didn't do that trade and we didn't get Grayson Allen out of it. And the number one thing that Suns fans should actually be upset about is Toumani Camara, not a soft big man who's overpaid. And the Portland Trail Blazers already drafted his replacement, Donovan Kleen, and I'm good. I'm okay. I mean, probably not as good as Jusuf Nurkic is doing tonight.
Starting Portland forward Toumani Camara. But yes, Nurk did redeem himself, and we will get into it.
Wait a second. No. We have a Nurk problem, Brendon. We have a Nurk problem. It was 2 games to the season. He missed most of the preseason. No, we have a Nurk problem, Brendon. No, we're not. A Nurk problem.
You and I are on different ends of this, so I would love to play along with you, Ben, but I'm not. I'm not going to take this game as fully making Nurk look great either. So we will have to duke it out maybe as we roll on with the show. But it is a 114-102 Suns win. They bounce back after that first loss of the doubleheader, the back-to-back against the Lakers. They come home, the home opener here tonight. No Bradley Beal, no Grayson Allen, and yet the Suns still find a way to get it done. And I'm going to take us straight to my moment of the game, Ben, which I sort of had a little pun for there, which is getting it done. Ryan Dunn starts in place of Bradley Beal, and I'm just going to go with the chest bump between KD and Dunn at half court that kind of culminated the stretch where they took over in the third quarter into the fourth quarter. Dunn battled through foul trouble. He steps in, has to guard Luka. That's a nightmare of a matchup. He only gets 21 minutes on the court, kind of trying to find his way, but makes 3 threes. And KD shouted this exact moment out as well. 7:38 in the fourth quarter, where Dunn set a back screen. The defense kind of followed Durant into the paint. Dunn popped out, confidently catches and launches and makes a 3 to put the Suns up 9. They were basically up 5 to 10 to 15 most of the second half, but by that point it was starting to look over. And I really feel like that energy and that confidence, like obviously you can't overlook the shot making that he continues to have. That's back-to-back games now with 3 threes made, Ben, but this is infectious for these guys. And, for an old wise vet like KD to actually be feeding off of it, like that says a lot to me, that it's not just, he's coming along, he's looking good, but like they are just as hyped about this young dude as we are, and it showed tonight for sure.
You and I had talked about this with Ryan Dunn, and if he can come into his own, it looks like he's already starting to do so, but just overall, Brendon, this team went from the Clippers game where it's kind of up and down and they started poorly or whatever. It kind of went up and down in the beginning and then they figured it out at the end. And then that Lakers game, right? They picked it up. They played what I thought, besides a little bit of that third quarter, a complete basketball game tonight. Ryan Dunn and company, Kevin Durant, and, I'll just move straight over to what I thought was my moment of the game. And You had mentioned it, feeding off of those guys. There was a media member next to me. I think I can't remember who it was. I was talking to him for a decent amount of the night though. And he goes, is Kevin Durant, is he doing the too small to Luka? And I go, Kevin Durant's not really a trash talker. That's not really his MO. He's not exactly a humble guy. He'll say he's one of the best players of all time, but he's not usually like a get in your face. And so I go, no, I think he's joking with him. I think that was kind of a smile. And then I saw the replay. He was going after Luka Doncic. And that right there, I do think is the moment, because right there was Kevin Durant stepping on the throat of the Dallas Mavericks. And once again, the opposing team, we have Kevin Durant and you do not. And that's ultimately at the end of this game where he just took over. And that is 2 games now, in 3 games total, that Kevin Durant has taken over in the final few minutes, shouldering that responsibility, where again, I think this team goes as far as Kevin Durant takes them. And that was a really, really good moment to have early on in the season, not just for Suns fans to rally around, but for the team to rally around too. So that's kind of where I was at.
It's 3 games now since KD got to the Suns that he has had big performances against the Mavs. The one right when he got here, the end of that first season. Last year, if you remember, there's the one where Grant Williams and Nurk got into it, and KD guarded Luka down the stretch of that game and was able to eke out the W. And then here again tonight, they don't really have an answer for him on defense. Some teams have players that I look at and I say, okay, that could pose some problems for Kevin Durant. I mean, he wasn't awesome in the Minnesota series, for instance, right? But Dallas doesn't have anybody, and he just gets into a rhythm, not to mention that he is a good option against Luka when they need to do that. They didn't even really have to dig that deep this one because Kyrie wasn't great and PJ Washington laid an egg and everything. But KD could have even, I think, done more. He can do more on defense in this matchup, but these 3 games, I put this out there on Twitter, and I was like, kind of, am I just, early season overreaction, Ben? But I saw it echoed by a lot of other fans, and I think it's 100% accurate. He feels like he is in a groove from a comfort standpoint and an efficiency standpoint and everything else that is at least up there with any stretch he had, any week he had of all of last season. The space he's able to operate in right now, and again, the rhythm that he's been able to find, like, he's on another level. And like you just said, he's absolutely the best player on this team right now. Hasn't even been close.
Yeah, that's a good way to just mention briefly something that we'll dive deeper into later. But like, Devin Booker was not great again in this game. Defensively was probably his best game, but he was not great in this game again. But it doesn't really matter. When you have a superstar like Kevin Durant, and at this point in his career, it's starting to reach LeBron James levels of, wait, this guy's 36, 37 years old. I think he's 36 exactly. And he's still one of the best players in the game. It takes a lot for a guy like Kevin Durant, who knows that Luka Doncic remembers everything, cross him up and hit a elbow jumper on him, where moments before that, he crossed him up, and had he not got cheap fouled, he would have had the moment of the game for both of us, crossing up Luka Doncic and then dunking the ball. So, yeah, Kevin Durant has been awesome. I mean, he's been awesome. I mean, every worry that I've had about Kevin Durant coming into this year, which was, is he going to take a step back? Are we sure he's still going to be Kevin Durant? This looks like the best version of Kevin Durant we've had since the Nuggets series, where he was awesome in 2 of those games. I guess he was really good in games 3 and 4. Wasn't super efficient in the other ones. And just really quickly, no, the Mavericks do not scare me. I've preached this since last year. Suns have Kevin Durant. The Mavericks have no one for Kevin Durant. They don't have Jalen McDaniels. They don't have Aaron Gordon. They do not have someone they can throw at Kevin. They don't have Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. The Mavs do not scare me at all. And defensively, they took a step back with Klay Thompson. The dude is cooked, although he still shoots pretty well. Cooked defensively.
Last thing, moment-wise, the other one that KD shouted out that Bud was also fawning over post-game was the stretch, because I don't think we'll mention him again the rest of the episode. Royce O'Neal with the transition score the last 5 seconds of the third quarter, and then sprinting back in transition on the other end to block Jaden Hardy and just mean mugging him. Kyrie's sitting there like, what? And it just energized everybody. And that was why Royce O'Neal did it. I feel like Kyrie was like, you're overreacting. But when both Bud and Katie are talking about it postgame, I think mission accomplished from Royce there. So lots of those moments, and they needed it. Again, you mentioned not great, not Book's best night, of course. The stat sheet would obviously indicate that. And no Beal and no Allen. And it was a collective effort, to be sure. Let's talk about the bounce back side of this, because this team not only has held leads and come back and done different things this season, they also are getting it done in a variety of different ways with different players already being tested 1 week into the season. We'll talk through that next. First, today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as few as 4 correct picks. You know the deal. PrizePicks has come in and they have fixed daily fantasy sports, making it more accessible to everybody, easier, smoother. You get rid of the nonsense of other kinds of daily fantasy sports. There's no sharks and, people who literally do it for a living trying to kill you every day. You're not trying to guess and jump around stuff that's complicated and messy and stats you've never heard of and things like that. No, it is you versus the PrizePicks player projections. All you got to do is pick more or less and put your instincts to the test. You can go cross sport. You can do one stat or the next, like maybe passing yards or rushing yards for Kyler Murray, or 3-pointers made, or points for Devin Booker. You could even, again, do them together in a cross-sport lineup. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA. Set your picks and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the PrizePicks app or go to PrizePicks.com. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA and get $50 instantly when you play that first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. All right, Ben, let's keep it rolling. My big takeaway from this game, the Suns are resilient in a way that they were not last year. And I don't want to jump the gun. Obviously, I could sit here in a month and say the Suns aren't looking too resilient right now. Like, that's just how a long regular season goes. But again, we've done this before with the injury side of it. But go back to last season, right? The Suns had already had a game by this time last year where they completely collapsed in a fourth quarter. It was against the Lakers. In the second game of the season, they got outscored 28-11 in that fourth quarter. Josh Okogie's just completely yucking up threes. Katie's turning it over. The LeBron machine just killed them, and it was looking ugly. You had games against the Spurs that got out of hand, right? I feel pretty comfortable saying that what we've seen from, you mentioned your guy Nurk, turning the narrative overnight, literally, in a back-to-back. The stepping up we've seen from Ryan Dunn. Some of the stats we'll go over in the next segment and how they've gotten things on track, playing without some of their better players and getting the job done. I don't remember feeling like this a lot of nights last season of, wow, I'm pleasantly surprised that they figured it out in the middle of a game. We don't have to have the sky is falling conversation. And here they just got a win. They just gutted out a win like they needed to. I don't have anything deep to say, but that feeling is pretty unique after what we dealt with for 8 months of last season under Frank Vogel.
Well, there was already a couple of narratives starting, and one of them was insane. One of them was, and I've advocated for this, but I've also advocated for just please give this team time. It's going to take a little bit of time, even if it comes out a little rocky at first. And that first narrative was, and I joked about it, we got a Yousef Nurkic problem. The only way the Suns are going to get out of this is by shipping off Grayson Allen. And I'm like, wait a second. Okay, I can listen to that, but can we wait 10 games before we make that proclamation?
Yeah, I don't think that problem's gone, but nobody makes a trade at the end of October in the NBA. So like people just
that problem in that problem in that narrative can still be there, but instead of a grease fire. It's like a little kitchen fire right now. We're still paying attention to it, but it needs to be
2-1.
put out. Yeah, exactly. And they should be 3-0, but whatever. I'm victim of my own moment. They've just got to figure it out. And we all mentioned this and we preach this. And, the other thing you had mentioned, you said that they're resilient. Brendon, did you ever think outside of the Kings game last year, where they came back from 50 down in the fourth quarter, that they were ever resilient? Ever? Was there one game where you're like, oh man, that team really figured it out? And even in that Kings game, it was more so the Kings taking their foot off the gas and the Suns taking it.
There might have been one, but I definitely wouldn't tell you there were three. I mean, I guess you wouldn't have said they were resilient after the Lakers game, but frankly, I think that one just hurt a little bit, and it had some ugly blooper moments with Nurk and everything. But I think that game, the Lakers kind of started hitting shots, honestly. So I feel good on the whole.
The Lakers hit shots. Lakers also look pretty good to start the season. And the Suns are still figuring it out. 2-1 through the first three games, where you played the Clippers, who are feistier than people think, the Mavericks, who were in the finals last year, and the Lakers, who are 3-0, if I'm not mistaken, to start the season. Pretty harsh way to start your season. And they've looked if you just take the, I can't do math, the 12 quarters that they've played, they've looked excellent in like 7 of them and bad in like 2 of them. Both third quarters against the Clippers and the Lakers. The other ones, they were still figuring it out. We talked about the likability of this team to start the season, and I tweeted it out. I'm not ready to say that they're super likable, but they are infinitely times more likable than the team last year. And that's just kind of, for me at least, where the thing that I really loved. But moving over to, my biggest takeaway, and I didn't run this by you, so I'll just have you get mad at me later. I'm trying to, as the president of the Ryan Dunn fan club, Brendon, I can't hold back the dogs much longer. If I have a couple, Bradley Beal better hurry back quickly if he wants that starting lineup spot. He better hurry. My big takeaway is Ryan Dunn is NBA ready. I texted you because we were not sitting next to each other tonight, probably because you specifically asked for that and didn't tell me. But I sat
next to nobody. I kept asking the guy next to me, is he going to come? And they're like, yeah, he's going to come. I was going to invite you down, and then he never showed up, and you didn't get to sit there. So, yeah.
The guy next to me didn't sit next to me either. But I'm trying to find the exact one. But I basically said, Bradley Beal ain't dunking that ball like Ryan Dunn did.
Yeah,
from the people that I have talked to, the biggest X factor with Ryan Dunn and what makes him so compelling as a prospect 6 months ago was his athleticism. Bradley Beal's athletic. He ain't Ryan Dunn athletic.
And
I don't know if
they're not comparable players. We don't have.
Just
of
saying,
course, they're not. He's not the athlete Ryan Dunn is.
Brendon,
he's not 6'9".
I'm holding back the dogs. Listen, I'm trying to hold it back. But as the president of the Ryan Dunn fan club, Bradley Beal better hurry up. Because Ryan Dunn in that starting lineup sure looks really good, and they look bigger.
Bradley Beal was far and away the Suns' second best player in the first 2 games of the season.
Well, you're not benching Booker, Brendon, and I'm trying. Listen, I'm still holding the line, but I can't hold these guys back much longer.
You're not benching anybody. And if we're being honest, if you were to bench anybody to maximize what this team is, it's probably Tyus Jones.
Yeah, of course. But you're not getting rid of the point guard.
And we talked about it the other day, right? Like, I think the biggest thing that Dunn unlocks for you is, and Royce O'Neal playing so well, frankly, too, is the Suns have been able to get to some of these more versatile small lineups more than they could last year. And for now, that's great. But also, the thing is, like, if Ryan Dunn is going to shoot like this, then you don't have to get that creative with the lineups. He's just a normal player. You know what I mean? Like, you're not having to, but there's this other guy, and it's like, well, I mean, he's kind of just a 3-and-D wing right now, and those guys fit in any kind of lineup with any other players. So he's right where he needs to be. He's getting minutes from here on out without a question.
Remember, I'm saying it tongue in cheek. Of course, we're not benching Bradley Beal yet. He was amazing to start off the season, especially after everyone was worried about his lackluster preseason. But Ryan Dunn, man, that's it. This guy's NBA ready. I've seen it. I've already seen more flashes from Ryan Dunn. That's not fair. I won't say that. I was going to say more flashes than Ryan Dunn in DeAndre Ayton's rookie season. I don't think it's that unfair. This kid is athletic. Shot looks good. Defensively on Luka Doncic, committed. You tweeted out, I saw this. He had a couple of rookie mistakes, which are just growing pains he's got to get out of, which is why I want as much playing time for this guy before the playoffs start. But
what I tweeted is he's been getting a rookie whistle.
Rookie whistle, yeah.
Like he's actually getting called for more than I think a vet defender would. But of course, Luka's a tough matchup.
Yeah, no, of course. I'm not gonna knock him for that. But there was a couple, the one where he swiped down on Luka, where probably in college he gets that ball, but with Luka, you're not going to. And so Ryan Dunn, man, NBA ready. I have no worries. Oso's got to get rid of the push shot, man. I saw enough of that with Bismack Biyombo, but that is so off topic.
If he doesn't have that, he doesn't have anything on offense.
That's what. But I'm not even worried about Oso. You know.
Yeah.
But
look, with
Ryan
Dunn, I mean, the Nurk mentioned after the game that he's like, one of the times Dunn came to the bench with the foul trouble, he said, "You can't even play hard tonight," or something. Like he was like yelling at the bench, like the refs won't let me play my game type thing. And I mean, that just speaks to, I think, the intensity, the competitive spirit and the confidence with Dunn it's real. I mean, we mentioned it with the feeding off of it that KD was doing, but it's just, it's helping him stay on the court too. And I mean, like, how many rookies would have just shrunk from even defending Luka, right? Like how many rookies would a coaching staff have even felt confident giving that assignment game 3 of the season, even if you have to deal with some of the rough patches of those fouls and everything else? I mean, I think that all just speaks volumes. But how many minutes going forward? I mean, he's not going to start like we got anytime soon. But
no, he's not going to.
I think that before long, Oso's minutes will probably get closer to 0, would be my guess.
Yeah.
And Dunn can take those. So that's, if you add just tonight 21 and then 7 from Oso, that's already up to 28. Like, I think Dunn's going to be in that 25 to 30 minute range from here on out, unless something
he's going to force it.
Changes.
He's going to force it to happen. Also, just one last little thing, because it ties in with it. God, are they deep, Brendon? This team's deep, man. They are so bleeping deep. Now we have Grayson Allen insurance with guys like Devin Booker, who's clearly there. And if Devin Booker falls out of that lineup for a twisted ankle, Grayson Allen can step in. And it is a big drop off, but it's not like they're going to lose every single game now. It's a very capable backup. And then you have Bradley Beal. This guy goes down for whatever, an elbow injury tonight that I actually still don't even know the issues of. You
said he ran through a screen at the end of the Lakers game. That was
that's not okay.
Physical.
Whatever. Whatever.
I didn't.
Anyways,
see it either, but.
And then if Beal bumps down, Ryan Dunn steps in that lineup, and you still have guys like Monte Morris who've been playing well. Brendon, it is going to be a fun season. It's going to be a fun season, man.
Yeah, everybody off the bench except for Damian Lee tonight had a positive plus-minus.
Yeah,
They've
Lee wasn't
continued to win a lot of the bench minutes. I mean, I think he was fine, but it just statistically, they've been winning those bench minutes every single night because they just have the depth to mix and match and try stuff. And that's even with Bud tinkering so much. So great
Brendon,
stuff. Let's talk through Yousef Nurkic's night. Let's get to the moment Ben has been waiting for. And then let's also talk about the turnovers. They dipped completely off of a cliff today. Was that an adjustment, a different defense? Where do we land there? We'll get to all of that to close out the show. First, today's episode brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook. NFL and NBA fans start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get that hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. Get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. You're listening to this on Sunday. The Cardinals are still 4.5-point underdogs on the road in Miami as Tua Tagovailoa returns to the NFL field. Maybe you feel a little nicer if you cash on a Cardinals upset road win Either way, you get $200 in bonus bets to get to work the rest of the NBA season, college starting in the not-too-distant future, and much more. It's the best time on the sports calendar. Check it all out at FanDuel.com. Closing out the show, Ben. Let's go. Okay, so I had in the closeout here at the end, I had a Nurkic thing last year, and I part of what happens when I don't go back to them often enough is I can't remember the names that I would use, but it was something along the lines of like the boneheaded up and down roller coaster experience of Yousef Nurkic. But to your point, it wasn't like I just bashed the guy every night. I gave him his flowers as deserved, and tonight the guy comes in after a bad Lakers performance and scores 12 straight points to close out the second quarter. Dallas still won those minutes by 3 because they also got hot from 3, but that speaks to how badly they needed that. And Nurk said post-game, Ben, that he felt disrespected by the fact that Jason Kidd put a small lineup in there. He had Maxi Kleber at center, and he said he felt pumped up by the fact that Jones and Book were feeding him the ball every possession during that stretch of time, and he was just eating. And it's a reminder, I think, that on top of all the other things that we can debate about in terms of how Nurk is used and his value and all that stuff, having a post scorer like that can just go to work in the right matchup is pretty valuable.
Well, no, it's not what happened. We have a Nurk problem. It's 2 games through the season. He's just not good. Can't pass the ball, bad rebounder. Oh, okay. So all that narrative is at least dead for the night. Nurkic is I can't believe I've had to plant my flag with this guy. The Phoenix Suns fan base and largely some of the media, or I guess I will say at least half, have DeAndre Ayton brain. Where for some reason everyone is still stuck in the 2021 DeAndre Ayton that was amazing, and everyone expects that from Yousef Nurkic. That is not Nurkic. Nurkic is a $19 million a year center. He's an overpaid center at that. However, he ain't DeAndre Ayton, who was making $35 million a year, was not giving the Suns any cap flexibility like getting Grayson Allen does do and allows you to make a move. And Nurkic, man, you got to have someone on this team outside of Ryan Dunn who plays with a little bit of emotion. And you got to have someone on this team who's kind of a tough guy. And yeah, Nurkic, I tweeted out, I was like, even I can't defend Yousef Nurkic, how bad he was in the first 2 games of the season. But it just showed you tonight, Daniel Gafford, who's 6'10", didn't play a lot in this game because Yousef Nurkic either bullied him or he was bullying Maxi Kleber or whatever it is. I kind of like a guy that can still pass the ball. He had 5 turnovers. One of them was not his fault. He was hitting Devin Booker on not a backdoor cut, but a cut, and Booker just didn't go. 4 turnovers tonight. Even Kevin Durant said that it felt like those turnovers weren't largely a huge deal like the other ones were. I like his aggressiveness. I like that at times he can pass the ball effectively, and he's the best rebounder the Suns have. And for all the Suns fans that want to get rid of the guy, who are you going to get that is a larger upgrade that would warrant you to get rid of Grayson Allen? Because you might want to trade Grayson Allen somewhere for Yousef Nurkic's replacement. But if you want someone who's going to be decently better than him, you're going to have to attach that first round pick. Nurkic is not the problem. He'll figure it out. And tonight he figured it out, and he was really good. Really, really good.
Yeah.
Did a lot of the things in this game that didn't work in the first 2. I like Nurkic.
Without getting into too deep of a rabbit hole on trades and everything, or,
yeah, of course,
or like the usage and whatnot, I think the problem is still there. I think it is very real for this team. I think that the fact that in order for Nurkic to be empowered on offense, not empowered, in order for Nurkic to be maximized individually on offense, he has to have the ball in his hands, is not ideal for a team that has a point guard and a big 3 who are not named Yousef Nurkic. You're asking to have him be hyper involved in an offense where ideally he's not. Ideally a center on this team should not have the skill set that Yousef Nurkic has. That's kind of the problem, but they're stuck with it. So I hear you when you say that the reality of the situation is that he's on this team. He does good things. They can help a team win. Tonight he did them, and it sort of just is what it is. And I've been beating the same drum too. I mean, last year the guy was their point guard. I thought that was the right thing to do, and it didn't work to make them a championship caliber team. And maybe that happens again this year and they have to have a hard look in the mirror. But on nights like this, again, like I said, it's a reminder, whether it's scoring in the post, rebounding. Sometimes you have big nights as a rim protector. He's a great screener. All those things have value, and you just got to kind of put the puzzle pieces together in the way that you can make him the best, fit around him the best, and mitigate the things that he's bad at. But there is a bigger conversation, I think, still to be had.
That's fine. So you're more down definitely than I am on Yousef Nurkic, and because I feel like, and you do as well, this is not a shot at you. This is not even really a shot, but I understand what Yousef Nurkic is. That's why I don't freak out about it. So I didn't freak out last year about Drew Eubanks. Backup center, doesn't make any money. I'm not going to freak out on the guy because he's not amazing. What's the fix? Tell me what the fix is for Yousef Nurkic. What is there a fix?
Yeah,
that
the fix is
not a trade, not a trade. Because we don't. I mean, if you don't want to go down that rabbit hole,
then what else?
Well, I was going to say, if you had mentioned before, you don't want to go to. Is that the only one then?
I'm just saying I don't want to talk about it because that's not the episode tonight.
Absolutely,
it would take a whole episode to get through all the permutations of a trade. But I mean, he's not going to be a different player. The dude's in his 30s, so
yeah.
I mean, Oso's not ready to do that. Plumlee's like a Nurkic clone, so yeah, that fix is not here right now. If they're going to do something. If they're going to have a different situation at center, it's going to have to come either as a result of a trade or by just having a mentality that their closing lineup's going to be small every night. And I don't know how sustainable that is either. So, yeah, I mean, that's just been the issue. It's been the issue since Ayton was here, too. You mentioned DeAndre Ayton. That he wasn't obviously, or he'd still be on this team. He wasn't a center that could get the job done in the modern NBA either, for different reasons, but that's why he's gone. So it's a tough thing to figure out right now in 2024 is what is the center supposed to look like on the best NBA teams?
If the Suns' biggest problem is Yousef Nurkic doesn't fit the team perfectly and at times is going to struggle with guys like Jokic or Embiid or whoever and put it out there, it's a pretty good place for the Suns to be. Like, if this is truly the Suns' biggest problem right now, every team has a weakness. No team is perfect. Literally none. Even the Celtics, I question their stars at times. The Suns' problem right now is they have a little bit of Yousef Nurkic problem. Sounds like their point guard position's pretty good. Devin Booker's been a little off. He'll be fine. He'll figure it out. And their wing position looks to be solidified by Ryan Dunn. No team is perfect. If this is the Suns' biggest issue, I'm very high on the Suns. Very high on the Suns. And I could argue that it is the Suns' biggest issue. I just don't think it's going to cost them in the end. I think there's a way around it.
We'll have to talk soon about what that way around it is, because I'd be curious.
Just a good place to be.
But last thing quickly, box score oddity as we like to go through here. The Suns only turned the ball over 11 times tonight. And 5 of those were Nurkic, which Ben already went over, it just in terms of them being more timing-based. And if the ball's in his hands a lot, it's going to happen. 0 for Tyus Jones. Nobody else had more than 1 outside of Nurk.
11?
And they went from 22 against the Clippers to 16 against the Lakers to just 11 in this game. And again, I mean, that speaks, I mentioned, with the resiliency. I just think the ability to kind of buckle down and clean up the mistakes and play an efficient game is really going to be huge. And, a lot of nights last season, they would have just crumbled in against, a Luka run or the hot 3-point shooting in that second quarter. Any number of times, this game was kind of in that danger zone all night, and they just kept executing. I think that you got to shout it out because it was such a problem last season.
Really quickly before we close it out, is Tyus Jones just allergic to turning the ball over? How does that not happen? Does he not have 1 on the season? Does he not have a singular turnover on the season?
Lakers game he had 4, I think.
Okay. You and I are both.
He had a bad one against the Lakers, but
well,
he is a god still on that side of things. And he had 2 turnovers against the Lakers and only 4 assists. So for him, that's like an abomination.
So he had 2 turnovers. So he was 200% worse in the turnover department than he was today.
What a disappointment. Yeah.
Man, this team's fun. God, I'm stoked. This team's fun, man. So that was fun.
Lakers again on
cool.
Monday. And the season is here. Games
It's fun,
coming
man.
fast and furious.
Fun.
This team is much more fun to watch, and we will be breaking it down for you each and every day. So hit follow or subscribe if you have not already, and we will talk to you